Alright team, gather round because today we're diving deep into the sands of time, way back to ancient Egypt. We're not just talking pyramids and pharaohs, though they're definitely part of the picture. We're going even further, to the very building blocks of their universe, to a group of primordial deities known as the Ogdoad of Hermopolis. Imagine this. Before creation, there was a vast watery chaos, and out of this nothingness, 8 powerful forces emerged. These weren't your typical gods with epic soap operas. These were cosmic concepts, the very essence of pre-creation, existing in balanced pairs. It's a mind-bending idea, something that shows just how sophisticated the ancient Egyptians were in their thinking about the universe. Now, these Ogdoad deities, they weren't like Zeus chucking thunderbolts or Thor swinging his hammer. Think bigger, more abstract. These were the personifications of fundamental states of being, or rather non-being, before the world as we know it burst into existence. They represented the raw potential, the ingredients waiting for the cosmic spark. The Egyptians saw them as 4 pairs, male and female counterparts, embodying a perfect, if chaotic, equilibrium. This idea of duality and balance is super important in Egyptian thought, cropping up everywhere from their art to their understanding of life and death. It's like they understood that for every force there's an equal and opposite, a cosmic dance of creation. So, who were these mysterious 8? Let's break them down. First you had Nu and Naunet, representing the primordial waters, the endless formless abyss from which everything would eventually rise. Then there was Amun and Amunet, symbolizing hiddenness, the unseen, the very air, or even the void itself, a concept of invisibility that played a huge role later with the god Amun becoming a major deity. Next up, Kuk and Kauket, the personification of darkness, the deep impenetrable blackness that existed before light. And finally, the pair we're really interested in today, He and Hawat. These two represented infinity, endlessness, the boundless expanse of eternity, which for the Egyptians was a very real and potent force. These 8 deities, according to the creation myths from Hermopolis, were the ones who brought forth the primordial mound, the first speck of dry land rising from the chaotic waters of Nu. It was on this mound that the sun god, often Ra or Atum, would later appear, kickstarting the actual creation of the world, the gods, and humanity. So, the Ogdoad were the true originals, the architects of potential, laying the groundwork for everything that followed. Their story isn't just a myth, it's a profound philosophical statement about the origins of the cosmos, a testament to the Egyptian quest to understand the very nature of existence itself, long before science as we know it. Now let's zoom in on our main man, He, and his female counterpart, Hawat. While all the Ogdoad were crucial, He held a particularly fascinating role. He was the embodiment of infinity and eternity. Imagine trying to grasp the concept of forever, something without a beginning or an end. That's He. He wasn't just about a long time, he was about all time, stretching infinitely into the past and unimaginably into the future. This wasn't a frightening concept for the Egyptians, not always. Instead, it was a fundamental aspect of the cosmos, and He was the divine force that personified this mind-boggling idea of endlessness, a steady constant in a universe of change. The ancient Egyptians had a really interesting take on time. It wasn't just a straight line ticking away second by second like our modern clocks. They saw 2 kinds of eternity. There was Djet, which you can think of as linear, enduring eternity, the kind of timelessness associated with the unchanging stars or the enduring presence of the deceased Osiris in the afterlife. But then there was Nehe time, and this is where He truly shines. Nehe was cyclical, recurring eternity, the kind of time seen in the rising and setting of the sun, the annual flooding of the Nile, and the cycles of birth, death, and rebirth. He was the master of this Nehe time, the endless repetition and renewal. This belief in cyclical time, personified by He, deeply influenced Egyptian life and their entire worldview. Think about it. Their entire civilization was built around the predictable yet ever-renewing cycle of the Nile. Its annual flood brought fertile silt, ensuring life could continue. The sun god Ra traveled across the sky each day, died in the west, and was reborn in the east every morning, another powerful cycle. He was at the heart of this understanding, representing the cosmic engine that kept these cycles turning, ensuring that life in all its forms would perpetually renew itself. This wasn't just a passive idea, it was an active force they sought to engage with. So, He wasn't just some abstract philosophical point, he played a vital role in maintaining cosmic order, what the Egyptians called Ma'at. His presence ensured the continuity of the world, the endless reign of the pharaohs, who were promised millions of years of rule, and the eternal journey of the sun. He was a guarantor of stability and endurance, a divine accountant of countless years. When you see He, you're looking at the Egyptian fascination with the infinite, their deep desire for permanence in a world that was constantly changing, and their profound understanding that time itself was a sacred, life-giving force. When you're exploring ancient Egyptian tombs and temples, you start to recognize the gods by their unique appearances and the symbols they carry. He is no exception, and his iconography is all about eternity. Typically, you'll see him depicted as a male figure, often shown kneeling, a posture that can signify adoration, or the bearing of a heavy burden, in his case, the weight of eternity itself. He's frequently shown wearing a divine wig and a kilt, standard attire for gods, but the real giveaways are the objects he holds or wears, each one packed with meaning, telling us about his immense power over time and space, a visual language of the infinite. One of the most common symbols associated with He is the palm frond, or more accurately, a notched palm rib. The Egyptians used the hieroglyph for palm rib, renpet, to also mean year. So when you see He holding one or two of these, often with notches carved into them, it's a direct visual representation of him counting or bestowing countless years. He's literally holding the measure of time, but not just any time, vast, unending stretches of it. Sometimes he's even shown with a palm rib on his head, further emphasizing his dominion over the ages and his role in granting long life, especially to the pharaoh. It's like he's the divine timekeeper for eternity. Another incredibly important symbol you'll often find with He is the Shen ring. This is a circle, a loop of rope with its ends tied, representing eternity, completeness, and protection. Think of it. A circle has no beginning and no end, perfectly symbolizing what He himself stands for. He's often depicted kneeling on a Shen ring or holding one in each hand. Sometimes the Shen ring encircles the name of a pharaoh, offering eternal protection to their reign. The Ankh, the symbol of life, is also frequently associated with He, often held in his hands or presented by him, underscoring his role as a giver of not just long life, but eternal life. These symbols weren't just pretty decorations, they were powerful magical emblems. When an Egyptian saw He with his palm ribs and Shen rings, they understood immediately that this was about the promise of millions of years, of unending existence, of protection from the ravages of linear time. He might also be seen holding a Waz scepter, a symbol of power and dominion, further reinforcing his authority over the eternal realm. Every element of his depiction was carefully chosen to convey his core function, to be the divine source and guardian of infinity, a concept that offered immense comfort and hope to the ancient Egyptians facing their own mortality. You find He everywhere once you know what to look for, especially in places connected with kingship and the afterlife. Royal tombs are a prime location. Pharaohs, considered divine, were obsessed with securing their eternal reign and rebirth. So, images of He promising millions of years of rule were incredibly popular. Think of the treasures of Tutankhamun. You can find He depicted on furniture and other items, bestowing his gift of endless time upon the young king. Temple walls, too, often feature He, particularly in scenes where the gods are granting long life and a prosperous reign to the ruling pharaoh. He's a constant presence, reinforcing the idea of an enduring cosmic and royal order. He's role wasn't limited to the pharaoh, he also played a part in the funerary beliefs of ordinary Egyptians, albeit often through the king's divine connection. In funerary texts like the Book of the Dead, the deceased hoped to navigate the afterlife and achieve eternal existence. While He might not be the main character in these journeys, the concept of Neha time he represented was central to the goal of rebirth and living forever in the field of reeds. The promise of cyclical renewal, of joining the sun god on his eternal journey, was a comforting thought, and He was the divine engine behind that cycle, ensuring that time would always regenerate. It's fascinating to compare He's concept of eternity with how other ancient cultures viewed time. The Greeks, for example, had Kronos, who was often seen as a more destructive, devouring figure, personifying the relentless march of linear time that consumes all. This is quite different from He's regenerative, cyclical nature. In Hindu cosmology you have Kala, who embodies time in its vast, cyclical and often terrifying aspects, encompassing both creation and destruction on immense scales. While there are parallels in the cyclical aspect, He seems to embody a more consistently positive, life-affirming vision of endlessness, focused on renewal, rather than just the passage or destruction caused by time. So why does an ancient Egyptian god of infinity still matter to us today? Because He represents something universal, the human fascination with eternity and the desire for continuity. He symbolizes renewal, the idea that even after an end there can be a new beginning. He stands for limitless potential, the comforting thought that cycles continue, and that life, in its grandest sense, is an unending process. For the ancient Egyptians, it wasn't just a god of abstract numbers, he was a vital force ensuring the world kept turning, that life would always triumph. And that powerful idea of infinity and renewal? That's a concept that, much like He himself, is truly timeless.